And now, Conversation with the Community continues.
Welcome back to our Conversation with the Community with Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander, who represents New Hampshire's 2nd District. We're going to bring in our studio audience of New Hampshire voters now who have their questions. I might jump in with a follow-up and also viewer questions that have come in via social media. But let's get things started right away with Rich Bruno.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
My question is, in general, how would best citizens influence Congress members? How could we get information to Congress? What's the best way to do that? And specifically, how can we influence your decisions with regard to issues that we have in New Hampshire?
Well, Rich, thank you so much for that question, and thank you all for being here today and for WMUR to host this event. No one does democracy better than we do, and I'm really glad to be here today to be in conversation with you. I have no higher priority than really hearing from directly the people who I work for. I love this job because I've got the best boss in the world, and that's the people in New Hampshire. And the way that I've done this job over the last 166 days has been driven directly from what I'm hearing from citizens here in New Hampshire, because that's ultimately the job of representative democracy, to bring your voices to Congress and to fight for you on the issues that matter most to you. And what I'd say is we've heard from thousands and thousands of people across our state since I started this job. And I want to encourage at the outset all the viewers right now and everyone in this room that we are always just a phone call away. And you should call us at 226-1002 and visit us on our website and come and see us in person. And forums like this, there's no better way for me to hear directly from you on the issues that matter most to you. But constituent services is what some of my colleagues call this line of work. To me, it's just the core of what my job is, to represent you, to be your advocate, to fight for you in Congress. And I'll just give you one example. You know, we heard from a veteran in Concord, an amazing Vietnam War veteran, Gary Gordon, who was having trouble navigating the VA because it's not an easy task. It takes an army sometimes to get what you need from the VA, although the men and women there are working so hard day in and day out to try to deliver for our veterans. He was having trouble he's in a wheelchair now in the VA because of service-connected disabilities that he sustained while fighting for us and wearing the uniform. And he needed a lift to get his power wheelchair into his van. He's still struggling to get this. Part of what's in the way is an outdated federal law that limits the ability of the VA to give him the kind of lift he needs. Adaptive transportation equipment. It's such a fundamental thing that our veterans are able to travel freely and safely. So one of the first pieces of legislation that I've gotten passed through the United States House is a bill that would correct this outdated federal law. And I mention this because we are working to try to deliver for the people who I work for in individual cases and navigating departments and agencies, but ultimately I want to make sure that the law reflects the needs of the people of New Hampshire. And that is why it is so important for me to hear directly from you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm a veteran, and I appreciate you mentioning the veteran situation. Thank you.
Thank you for your service, Rich.
All right, next question from Joshua Robinson.
Good morning, Congresswoman. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My name is Josh Robinson. I'm the president and owner of Checkmate HCM up in Concord. We are a small business, and my question this morning is all based around the fact that small businesses in New Hampshire are desperate for help with the cost of childcare, and so are parents. And many parents would prefer to stay in the workforce and raise their children at the same time while they're advancing their careers. But with the cost of childcare as high as it is, we have had two of our last two employees who have chosen to have a child who are no longer with our company because they are stay-at-home moms now. Yeah. And it's kind of an untenable situation here. These aren't, we pay, decent wages for our staff, and even at, $20 to $25 an hour, it's still unaffordable. Once you have a second child, to put them both into daycare.
Yeah.
So, we're really looking for whatever, creative ideas, solutions, at the federal or state level that might help with this?
Well, Josh, thank you for that question. First of all, small businesses are the beating heart of our economy. I'm so proud to be serving on the Small Business Committee in the House. And childcare is an issue I raise at every opportunity I get, including in a hearing last month with the administrator of the Small Business Administration. What I hear from people in our state, from Nashua, where I was on Monday, at the Boys and Girls Club, trying to understand better how creative solutions that we can bring to the table to solve what is genuinely a crisis. And you mentioned two of your employees who had to make the absolutely heartbreaking and painful choice to leave the workforce because they couldn't afford to work. We see this playing out with tens of thousands of people, mostly women, across the state of New Hampshire. And this is a choice that no one should have to make. It's costing New Hampshire's economy millions and millions of dollars. By recent estimates, more than $170 million in lost wages. This is costing us. It's a crisis. I'm very focused on every solution that we can bring to bear to this issue. I think at the end of the day, it's really going to require, the answer can't be, and unfortunately, I think we hear from far too many corners of this administration, the Trump administration, that the answer is women, can just stay at home. This is not the answer. The answer has got to be that government, business, and people themselves, but right now we've got people who are shouldering so much of the burden. I'm focused on how we can bring more providers to New Hampshire. How can we bring more child care providers? Yesterday I was in Claremont visiting a child care center. These are some of the most extraordinary people. It's a vocation. They go into this work. They are underpaid, they are overworked, but they love what they're doing because they're ultimately educators and caretakers of the most important kind. So I'm focused on how we can solve our housing crisis, which is deeply connected to our child care crisis, because part of the trouble that I hear everywhere I go, and including yesterday in Claremont and on Monday in Nashua, is that we don't have enough affordable housing for child care providers to actually come to our state and do this important work. So we have child care deserts all across the state. I'm looking to find every creative solution to protect the programs that exist now, the tax credits that could be expanded and really reworked for this moment. But this is a huge priority for me, and I'm really glad that you raised the issue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Marie Mulroy.
Good morning, Congressman. How are you? My question is, can you talk a little bit, in fact, it kind of piggybacks on what he was saying from the housing end, of what the role is of private equity firms have in driving up the affordability and the availability of housing, and also what is if Congress is doing anything about that?
Well, I'm glad you raised this. This was the subject of a hearing that we had on the role of private equity for small businesses in American public life right now. Look, the fact is, when we talk about our housing crisis, which to me, having a home, a reliable home, is a cornerstone of the American dream. It's far too out of reach for far too many people. And to me, there are two real drivers of the problem. The first is that we are seeing a pattern across our state and our country of private equity firms, of venture capital firms, who are buying up the housing supply, mostly single-family homes, and they're jacking up the cost of housing, both rent and to purchase a home. So if you've got a single mom with 2 kids who's up against a multi-billion-dollar private equity firm bidding on a home, that multi-billion-dollar firm is going to win every single time, and it's driving the American dream out of reach for far too many people. Congress can do something about this, and there is legislation that is on the table that I'm hoping we can get more attention on, that would create some prohibitions on how multi-billion-dollar businesses can operate in our housing market, which is such a critical market. But the other piece of this really has to do with increasing the supply of homes. We know we need to build tens of thousands. Some say 60,000, some say 90,000. It may even be more than that. New homes in New Hampshire in the next 5 years. And that's going to take creativity, it's going to take grit, and it's also going to take us weathering trade wars that are jacking up the costs of building homes here in New Hampshire. And this is a core priority for me because it's at the root of so many of the other affordability crises that we're seeing right now, from childcare to healthcare. Yesterday I was in Claremont at Valley Regional Hospital, and they've just on Friday opened up a new housing unit right on their campus, within steps of the front door to the hospital. There's a nurse in the emergency room right now in Valley Regional Hospital who could not be there but for this housing unit that came online. And it speaks to just the relationship between housing and the other challenges that we're facing in the state. So thank you for raising this.
Thank you.
Okay, we have an online question coming from Edward Senarizio, who asks, do you support the funding of services such as education, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, Social Security benefits, and housing assistance to undocumented immigrants? And what is your perceived cost of those services?
You know, I just want to say, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it, what we're seeing right now, the assault on basic bedrock programs that the American people have paid into their entire lives, from Social Security to Medicare, to programs that protect people of all ages here in New Hampshire, and that includes Medicaid. My focus right now in Congress has been on protecting against the biggest cuts to Medicaid in American history, which are on the table right now. An unprecedented assault on Social Security. You know, just a few weeks ago, I was up in Littleton to make sure that the Social Security office in Littleton was still open. But Adam, right now we've got laws on the books that protect these programs, and this to me is a question that's been settled by federal law already. People who are not citizens do not participate in these programs.
The cost, though, it seems as though these people are getting benefits in other states and accessing things like this.
That's not the case here in New Hampshire.
Next question coming from Christopher Lee.
First, I want to thank you for your support of TRIO and your work with the Upward Bound programs and helping them get their GANs. We have a TRIO student support services program at St. Anselm College, as well as all the other state schools in the area. Almost a year ago, we submitted our renewal grant. But with the limited resources in the Department of Ed, we haven't heard anything. And I was just wondering if you have heard anything about a timeline for when that process is going to be.
Well, first of all, thank you for your work with TRIO. For those of you who aren't familiar with the program, it's a really extraordinary one, and I've had a chance to see it at work all across our state. TRIO is, for so many students in New Hampshire, the pathway to college. For literally decades, it's been changing the lives of young people all across the country, which is why the bipartisan TRIO caucus is one of the best represented bipartisan bicameral caucuses in the United States Congress. I want to make sure we follow up directly on the question you asked about the funding request, and that's because just a few weeks ago, I was sitting together with educators from around our state, including your colleagues from TRIO, who were in a total moment of uncertainty about whether funding that was really promised to New Hampshire TRIO programs was going to come through. They were in a posture where they were preparing to have to cancel programming that students and families across our state were relying on. And what we did was to raise the alarm. We wrote directly to the Secretary of Education to find out what the status of this grant was, and lo and behold, it was turned back on. And this is an example of why it's so important that we hear directly from you, from all your viewers, whenever you are facing an interruption in a federal grant or contract that was promised to you, because we're living in a moment when the basic principle that Congress appropriates money and that money is then delivered to New Hampshire, this has been undermined in case after case after case. But we have recourse, and that is through advocacy, and I want to be your advocate, because there's nothing more fundamental to government than when money is appropriated and promised, that it's actually delivered. That is what our country is all about. It's essential to public trust, and it's something I'm ready to fight for. So I really would love to get the details on that and and advocate for you.
Thank you.
Sharon Mullen has our next question.
Thank you. Good morning. Understanding the minority party's limited ability to direct policy, how can the impact of federal and executive actions on existing state, municipal, and federal programs be mitigated before it all falls on the shoulders of our local residential taxpayers?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is the fight that I'm talking about when it comes to the majority's budget plan, the GOP tax and budget bill, H.R. 1, that was passed through the House last month. What this bill is going to do, three things to keep in mind. Number one, it's the biggest cuts to health care in American history, the biggest cuts to Medicaid in American history, cuts to Medicare, cuts to the Affordable Care Act, the basic health care that our state relies on. These cuts are going to be falling, the costs are going to fall on the shoulders of hardworking people of the state of New Hampshire and also to our local communities. And this is exactly the conversation I've had all across our state, from Hudson to Claremont, all the way up to the North Country. This is the reality, that it's going to fall down on us, these cuts, because what they're funding, these cuts, are the biggest tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations that we've seen in my lifetime. Meanwhile, it's going to drive up the deficit more than ever before in American history. And this is why you're seeing, on a bipartisan basis, members of Congress really showing skepticism about this bill. I have no higher priority because I know that the burden of these cuts to healthcare, to food assistance, to education, these basic cuts to education, are ultimately going to fall on the shoulders of hardworking people in New Hampshire. And that's not right. That is not right. And at the end of the day, I don't think that we voted for billionaires and big corporations to get the biggest tax break that we've seen in a generation.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Laura Matthews.
Good morning. Do you and your office team feel you have the time and resources you need so that you are aware of all executive branch challenges to the balances of power and also New Hampshire needs? Mm-hmm. So the challenges are understood quickly, responded to, prioritized? Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. Look, we live in challenging and eventful times. We are seeing a real assault on the basic principles of American government, of the rule of law. And I follow closely everything that's happening at every level that I'm responsible for. And that includes the executive actions that we're seeing coming out of this administration. But my real heart, soul, and focus is here in New Hampshire. And that is why, coming back to what I said before, hearing directly from you and what's happening on the ground is more important than ever. One of the real challenges in this job has been that in the ordinary course, when a member of Congress asks a question of an executive branch official, of a department or agency, you get an answer. You know, when I worked at the Department of Justice, when I served in the United States Navy Reserve, when you got a question from Congress, you answered the question. It was a priority. These days, our letters are not always answered, and that's why it's so important that I hear directly from you, from the people who I really work for, because we've seen time and time again that information flows directly from the people. And this is why I have a lot of hope that representative democracy is alive and well, because here we are, and what I'm trying to do every single day is to hear directly from you, which is why I'm pounding the pavement and trying to meet people where they are, wherever I possibly can.
Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to ask you a little bit about, you've talked about your focus, but in terms of the direction of the Democratic Party, that was a shock to a lot of Democrats that they lost in November, and there are a lot of these 80-20 issues that they're on the wrong side of. Has your party course-corrected enough to win, not just in 2026, but 2028?
I think I can speak for myself, Adam, really, and what I've been trying to do is I think what anyone in this job should be doing. And first and foremost, it's to listen to and to hear from the people who I work for. And in listening, what I'm hearing is what is driving my direction and my focus in this work. And first and foremost, it is in addressing the affordability crisis that hardworking people across our state are feeling, and that has been exacerbated in so many ways by what President Trump has done. We didn't get a chance to talk at length about trade wars and the tariffs and the pain that small businesses, farmers, hardworking people are feeling from the uncertainty that has been generated by a president who's ruling through press releases and tweets. We're lucky if we get an executive order when we can find out what the source of law is at bottom. But what my focus is in hearing directly from the needs of the people who I represent and fighting for them. And that is what I have found common cause with so many of my colleagues in Congress and the Democratic caucus who are out there, who are listening, and who are fighting for the issues that really matter most. And that is where I see the future of our work and our party. I think we have as our North Star the reality that any person who takes an oath should have, which is that we serve the people of New Hampshire and the people of the United States. It's the first 3 words of our Constitution and the most important ones, we the people.
All right, Congresswoman, thanks for joining us on Conversation with the Community. Thank you to our studio audience and you watching at home, and to St. Anselm College with our crowd building. We'll be back in a few months with more. Thank you.
Thank you.